guys, and welcome. I have a weird schedule these weeks, and I thought that instead of not having any video for you, I wanted to sit down and have a little heart-to-heart, a little Q&A, old school style. Feel free to, put this in your ears and just get along with your day, or listen while you're on transportation or doing your dishes or whatever it is in any way possible. We're gonna dig deep into some more deep topics and also just some more lightweight stuff, whatever I feel like when I scroll through your questions. I made myself my little pick-me-up tea because I'm honestly feeling a little bit tired. I think because I just came home from Tamyang with Jake. Tamyang is in the southern part of Korea. We visit a bamboo forest, which you'll see next week. And my dad is coming, so there's so many prepare things that I have to do beforehand, so I'm a little bit overwhelmed in my mind. So it honestly fits me well that we're sitting down and catching up like this. Let's just take the first question. I think a lot of people can relate to. It says, do you ever get periods where you get really sad and you really feel like things are not falling into place? And I, of course, have moments I feel like that. It comes a lot. Like, I would say I am an emotionally sensitive person. Definitely what has helped me in moments like this is to first of all realize and establish where I am on my cycle. If I'm in my winter energy of the period, if I'm bleeding, or if I am, in that moment around a week before I'm bleeding. So pretty much that half of the time of the month, I'm usually a lot more sensitive, and especially right up to my period. It's very normal. We've all heard about the concept of PMS, and I think that it's gotten a lot of an insane rep because we have all of these funny TikTok dudes talking about how the women are sensitive and like you have to ask them if they're on their period and stuff like that. But those immature boys aside, it actually says a lot, and it's not about, just having to accept that this is when I'm feeling sad and then there's nothing to do with it. You can honor yourself in that specific moment. I definitely realize when I'm feeling extra sensitive, extra sad over things that usually doesn't make me sad. I more often than not find myself in this moment in my period, and when it comes to that, it's very important to honor that version of myself, because it's myself just as much as anything else. And what has helped me to do that is allowed myself to say no to plans, or allowed myself to stay home and not, do a hard workout at the gym, or, being a little bit more gentle to myself. And that usually manifests itself in me laying on the sofa, doing light stretches at home, wanting to wear comfy clothes and no makeup, and wanting to journal or draw or do more creative feminine things. And if I honor myself in that moment instead of hitting myself in the face over the fact that I need this and keep pushing through in that masculine energy, I will keep feeling sad. And this is a way that we really honor where we are in that cycle. That's a long answer to your question, but I hope that it helped. Before I go on to the next question, I wanted to take this opportunity to sponsor myself. And that comes in the form of me giving a little shout out to my Scent Lavender Dream Oil Cleanser. I use this in pretty much all of my videos, so you know that is a stable part of my routine. We just talked about getting into that energy. This is something that always for sure rewinds my mind and makes me relaxed in myself, and kind of makes me feel like I'm being vulnerable with myself, because the whole practice of removing my makeup, cleansing the day off, and getting ready for rewinding is such an important ritual in my daily life and in my evening routine. And Scent Lavender Dream Oil Cleanser happens to be the only cleanser. And I'm not just saying this because I created it, but I really created it in order to perform the best on me. And it's the only cleanser ever that's been able to remove my whole makeup flawlessly. Like, I don't have to rub too hard. I don't have to pull out all of my eyelashes in order to try to even remove half of it. This removes everything, and it is vegan, it is organic, it is cruelty free. We use all of the highest natural ingredients from Europe, and it's all produced in Europe under the highest standards. Fun fact, Europe has the highest production standards when it comes to skincare and certification of organic and all of these labels. So it's very important to me. I hope you've had a chance to check it out. The links are always down below in the description box. So, okay, let's get back into the next question. Okay, next question. How do you not let your emotions puppeteer you when you know that you should act more logically? This is something that I kind of have had a tendency to do, and it's come a lot in conversations with like someone close to me, like for example my parents or Jake, my boyfriend, where if they say something and I want my emotions to react immediately, that's usually our first natural instinct, right? It's our emotions, it's this moon side of us, that inner child that usually will react first. And a lot of times that reaction is not very productive because it stems from probably deeper patterns of habits or even in some cases trauma. And it's not productive in the sense that it probably usually makes the problem a little bit bigger. Like for example, if Jake and I has a disagreement, I will tend to like, my first reaction will be like to be, no, that's not true, like why would you say that, like something like that. And if I really just take a step back and allow this to sink in and take into consideration other factors, my logical side would then take over, and usually the emotional side will follow through on that as well. The emotional side will then understand the logic behind a proper reaction. That's the difference between reacting and responding. We want to be able to take ourselves that moment first. So for me, what has helped is really, take a step back. If that is physically, that's totally okay. If you're in a situation where you can take a step back, think about it for a moment. It really just means pause for a second. That helps a lot in, responding instead of reacting. Another thing that I've, found really helps is to be aware of different people's paradigms. And when I say paradigms, I mean with what lenses are they looking through the world at? Where do they come from, basically? If you're aware that we all come from a different point of view and we all have a shit ton of baggage that will determine how we react in certain situations, if we're aware of that, then we know that a lot of things actually doesn't have a lot to do with our immediate inner wounded child. And then we're more easily capable to choose the more logic route when it comes to responding. On a more lighter note, here's the question about my coaching training. How has coaching training been thus far? Any specific thing you're excited to learn more about? Okay, so coaching training has been really, really fun. Like, I am actually enjoying it so much. I am almost a month in, and I'm only just more excited than I was before. I'm studying with Optimus Coaching Academy, and I'm just having a blast, to be honest. I'm learning a lot about myself and about how to have a productive conversation. So to be honest, it's not just helping me in, my future work with clients, it's also helping me in my communication with people around me as well, and in my listening skills and in my presence skills. But what I'm looking forward to a lot is a couple of things. We have a course on neuroscience and also one on positive psychology that I'm really looking forward to. But other than that, from next week, I am expected to start taking clients in, and I am in the process of working on this little sheet that you guys, if you want to, and if you feel open and if you feel called to this, can fill out, and then I can see if you are like a good fit to be one of my coachee training people. In order to be certified with the International Coaching Federation, I can only have 30 hours of pro bono in my, coaching hours that I have to send to them. So the first 30 hours, just because I'm not an experienced coach yet and I'm still under training, I want to do the first 30 hours pro bono. So that means free of charge. So keep an eye out, maybe on my Instagram and probably also on YouTube community tab somewhere for a link to that, so you can apply to become the first person to help me become a great coach and be coached by me. Yeah. Okay, one of you asked here for podcast recommendations for self-improvement. And if you know me well, you know that I actually don't listen to music anymore, and it's not a conscious choice. It's just because I listen to so many podcasts. I think on average I listen probably 2 hours a day to a different podcast, and because of that I have accumulated quite a couple of favorites that you guys showed a lot of interest in when you asked on Instagram. So let me open my Spotify here and name drop a couple of ones so you can write them down. The first one that I've recently listened to a lot is the Vital Veda podcast, and it is basically an Ayurvedic based podcast, like about Ayurvedic science, and it's something I'm really interested in, have been for a couple of years, so I recommend that one. Then I recommend Know Thyself by Andre Dukum, and I don't know if I pronounced that right, but Know Thyself, which is also a very good podcast, more in the interview format. Then one that can be a little bit provoking a lot of times, and some of the things that he says I don't agree with, but he is one of the smartest people that I've ever listened to, and it's very interesting to listen to, and I'm learning so much from this person. It's Living 4D with Paul Chek, and okay, these episodes are like 3 hours long, some of them, and it's very technical, but it's mind-blowing, learning so many things, and I'm very much loving this podcast. Then I also tend to go back and listen to the Highest Self podcast with Sahara Rose about a lot, and one really good podcast. It's called Make Art Not Content by Father Bronx, and really good podcast, super well produced. Another one of my recent favorites are Awakening Aphrodite with Amy Fournier. So these were just a couple that I am going back to a lot over the time, always. So yeah, I hope it's helpful. My life feels so meaningless right now, and I don't know what job to choose. Any tips on finding your way in life? This is actually a topic I'm really passionate about. This passion of mine sprung out of so many of you guys asking this kind of question all the time, because I do acknowledge that I look like someone online who is following their passion and is essentially monetizing on my hobby. My hobby is my job, and it is true. I am like that, and I feel so happy. And I don't even want to say fortunate, because I've worked for this a lot, and you can as well. So the first thing that I would ask someone who feels like this is, what is something that makes you excited? What do you find yourself gravitating towards these days when you are searching up podcasts, or if you're searching up something on Google or on YouTube? What are the things you're searching for? I really do believe that there is no limit for what we can do. You can start doing literally everything you want. It's about actually owning up to this power and this responsibility of your own life that you have, so that you are not being held back by people saying, you gotta go to university, you gotta become this and this and that, because that's a secure way in life. Ooh, that went right up in my nostrils. In my experience, this kind of meaninglessness comes... It's really taking deep up in my nostrils right now. This kind of meaningless that we feel sometimes comes a lot when we feel like there is no purpose for us. And I think purpose is a big term. It's a big thing to really think about in your life. Not like, my purpose is to save lives and become a doctor. It doesn't have to be that big. This feeling of purpose and drivenness, like this passion that comes with life, is not so much about what you do. It's about what that comes with it. What comes with it? How are you doing it? And what energy? What energy are you bringing out to the world? Or what energy are you bringing to the people around you? And when it comes to what I do, for example, which is why I, wanted to study to become a coach, is I want to inspire and I want to help people. I want to bring an feeling of empowerment to people. And that can be done in so many different ways. Like, I've done YouTube, I've done podcasting, and it can be done in a lot of other ways. It can be done through art, or it can be done through being a teacher. There are so many ways to deliver this specific feeling, and in my experience, when we feel like we are contributing the world with this specific feeling, with this energy, then we feel more purpose-driven, and this feeling of meaninglessness is just not usually there. If you're gonna write a book, what would it be about? Actually, I would like to spin this a little bit because I've realized I do want to write something and deliver something at some point, and I kind of want to do it in the form of courses. Like, I would love to write online courses, pre-film a bunch of videos on a certain topic, and, you know, bring that so it's available for you guys to purchase and work with. Like, for example, like a month challenge, or like a month deep dive into a specific area of self-growth. In the future, that's a big dream of mine to do. This is a question I get a lot and that I've actually answered a couple of times before in various ways. What to do when your closest people, family/friends, disapprove of all of your dreams. I think this is a big one that a lot of people struggle with, and I have very tough love opinions on this. It sounds quite tough, and it might be very provocative to hear my opinions on this, but nonetheless, I do stand by them a lot, and I believe that that is truth, at least for me. You are in 100% control of your life. There's no one else that can stop you unless they're physically captivating you, which I hope that doesn't happen. Nothing is stopping you for doing anything. Then we have to think about, if our family or friends are disapproving of whatever we want to do, what feelings inside of us then decides not to do it? Because that's what's stopping you. What's stopping you is not what they say. What's stopping you is how you react to what they're saying. And a lot of the times we react by, oh fuck, my mom and my dad don't like approve of me moving to, let's take my own situation as an example. My mom and dad don't approve of me moving to Korea. They don't think I can succeed here, so they don't want me to. I think we can all agree that it obviously feels better, and that it is an obvious, more ideal situation that our family and our friends support us in what we do, and that will make it easier for us to get over our own fears of doing it. But it cannot be what is stopping us, because then we are actively making that decision not to go to Korea or to abroad or to study this kind of thing or to pursue a career in art or whatever it is. I love this idea in Stoicism, which says that you have to trust what you cannot change, trust that, and then you have to let it go, and then everything that you can change, you have to take responsibility of that. And when someone tells you that they don't approve of you doing a certain thing, that's not them saying that you physically cannot do that thing. That's you saying that. That's you choosing to take that in. And where does that come from? Does it come from an inherent need to feel like you are being accepted? Is it an inherent feeling like you feel you have to please these people around you? Is it a fear that you might fail because they don't believe in you? All of these things are something that is deep-rooted inside of you, and it's very deep, and it is not something that we should just brush over lightly, because I think those things are more appropriately dealt with in a therapy session. So if this is really something that is bothering you, and if you feel like there is something deep underlying there, I would definitely suggest you to seek out help somewhere. As a person living in Seoul, how do you deal with nature homesickness? Actually was just on the phone with Sissel yesterday, and we talked about this. Basically, obviously there aren't many opportunities to be in nature, in complete and untouched nature here in Seoul. And I'm sure you can relate to this, but like, I always get out in Seoul. Like, for example, I was out of Seoul last weekend. I was in Tamyang. It's beautiful, bamboo forest. Really look forward to next video when you're gonna see that, because it was gorgeous. But then I find myself sitting there and looking around and being like, whoa, this feels so good. I feel grounded, I feel calm, I feel content, I feel happy, I feel inspired. And yet I know that this is nature bringing me this feeling. Yet why the hell does it take me 3 months every single time to get out of Seoul and into nature? I don't know. There is something that's just stopping that, but thankfully I do have friends who are also craving this a lot. And it's kind of like the more and more that I find myself in this situation, the more I realize that, you know how different countries have different energies to them. I would say Korea is very masculine. It's very, you know, focused in the head and very like that. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know how to put the words to that. And I feel like myself, I have an easy time being in the masculine, but I'm craving the feminine. I'm craving nature. I'm craving connectiveness. I'm craving creativity. I'm craving being in a surrounding that really nurtures and promotes creativity. And it's hard to get that in Korea. And it is really hard. I even find myself in a group of friends that really does that a lot, but it's still hard when you are in this environment. I have opened my mind to thinking like I could potentially live somewhere else at some point. I'm kind of playing with the idea, toying with it a little bit, that maybe January, February-ish, I want to try to just spend some time somewhere else. And potentially right now I'm thinking about Bali. I've had amazing experiences in Bali in the past. You said, how do you deal with nature homesickness? I mean, I'm trying to get out. I'm not very good at it, but I would like to get better. Ooh, I love this question. How do you bounce back from burnout? Oh, burnout is horrible. I was in a terrible burnout. Probably starting from a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago, and then pretty much like 9, 10, 11 months after that as well. So for almost a year, I felt like I was completely burned out. You could probably see that on my content as well, like on my work. And I lost my passion with work. I lost my interest in sharing, and I kind of lost my voice a little bit. I think it's because I've been growing so much and I didn't feel like my work, my YouTube videos was, you know, following along with that. Then it suddenly seemed very meaningless and pointless that I did these weird videos that I was surprised people would even watch. And if you go back and see, not a lot of people even watch them. That was my situation. But how I got out of that, I think one thing that you should definitely listen to if you're finding yourself in this situation is the New Year's episode that we did on After Sunset podcast, me and Sissel, our podcast. Because that's where we actually did a New Year's ritual, and I have that hanging on my wall in there. I asked myself a couple of questions and I, you know, manifested a couple of different things that I wanted to be. Like, for example, I have written on the top of that paper. Let me actually get it for you. I'm gonna show you. Okay, so these are the downloads that I got throughout that. And my first point was, I refound my love for sharing and creating after a period of burnout. I wrote this down and I've been repeating that a lot in my mind. And this is the important thing about manifesting. You have to talk and you have to embody the feeling of already being out of burnout. And what are you then? What are you then on the other side? That's what you have to embody and talk like you already have achieved that. I found my love to my body, my temple. That has really also come true. Never is it a bad life, but a challenging moment. And in relation to that, I wrote breakdown versus breakthrough. And when you feel burned out, you can feel like you are very often in this feeling of like breakdown. And it is essentially just an invitation to redirect somewhere. I love that saying, rejection is an invitation to redirection. I love that sentence. It basically means if you feel like there is something stopping you on the way that you were on, if that's a burnout, if that's demotivation, if it's a loss of interest, something is stopping you. There's a block there. That's not there to make your life horrible. It's there to redirect you into something else. And that's what I did. I tried to then embody this like energetic and spiritual growth that I've made myself into my channel as well. And when I did that, I started coming out of that burnout. I refound my love for sharing and creating videos. And in burnout, more than ever, it's a good time to sit back and reflect and see, where did I lose a piece of myself on the way right now? Where can I pick up these sides of me that I've lost? And do they have to get a little makeover? Do they have to be redefined a little bit? Yeah. I've received a lot of questions, and it feels very good to see that a lot of you guys actually have questions in these kinds of topics that I feel passionate about sharing. Because there was kind of deep questions that I took out here, I guess we're gonna stop the video now before it becomes too long, but I hope you enjoyed this, and I hoped that it was inspiring or that you learned something about whatever you were seeking to get out of it. As anything that I'm always sharing, I want you to know that I'm sharing stuff from my perspective, and we have to remember that I look through life with different glasses than you. You can get inspired by this, but take what you want to, take what speaks to you and drop the rest. I'm not sitting here and telling you what's the right or wrong way to live life. I'm telling you what works for me. So with those words said, I hope you have a wonderful week, and stay tuned for the Tamyang bamboo forest video next week. I love you, and I'll see you next week. Bye.